My work is generated around the idea of transformation. This can come in different ways, such as illness, the process of healing, adaptation, resilience, etc. The creative quality of resilience has become the essential adaptive and projective aptitude in the face of continuous vital changes. From previous reflections on healing and my work with Alzheimer's patients, various ideas come up to be used in my artistic work. That is the conceptual origin of the Creating Dance Underwater project, which, by the way, was my first underwater project. All of this came from that interest in communicating this process that goes through not just Alzheimer's patients, but those with a physical disease and or emotional or psychological problems. It is a process of change, acceptance, and adaptation. For a year, I took dance classes at the university, and I presented the project to professional dancers, teachers, and students. The idea was that professional dancers with at least 10 years of practical study will use their creative abilities in a different and extra difficult environment, such as the wild underwater environment. Starting from someone who has mastered their moves in the land environment, who's challenged to adapt their body and movement to the water, overcoming impediments such as lack of oxygen, sea salt water on eyes wide open, lack of gravity, pressure, etc. I thought that it could metaphorically represent the difficulties that ill people must face in their life processes. Creativity is shown as a fundamental and necessary characteristic when adapting to a new environment, or to physical and psychological characteristics different from those previously known. The process of continuous adaptation is implicit in the creative process. The acquisition of new skills is necessary, such as those acquired by learning to dance underwater. This is the same process that must be undertaken to relearn skills lost when we recover from physical illnesses or emotional and or psychological problems. The professional dancers in this project had to adapt their skills to the natural underwater environment to illustrate this metaphor through their own experience, in order to transmit this knowledge to us through an aesthetic experience. According to scientific studies, movement and physical therapy are a source of new discoveries for improvement and even total recovery in some illnesses. To translate it into a visual metaphor, considering creation, creativity, and movement, I thought about dance. On the other hand, visualization of movement, according to neuroscience, activate our mirror neurons, which constitute a basic functional mechanism in social cognition. This is the embodied simulation. The simulation process is triggered by a perception. It also occurs when we imagine doing or perceiving something. Mental images in movement involve reusing our motor neural apparatus to imagine things and situations that we are not actually doing or perceiving. In fact, they activate the motor part of the brain that observes both moving and static images. In other words, when you observe the following dance images, your brain will activate the same muscles as the dancers, as well as the associated emotions. The bodily feelings triggered by the works of art that we identify with through the mirror mechanism they evoke can trigger and transform your body through aesthetic experience. In creating dance underwater, dance is used as a symbol to represent the step to follow, both to initiate the creative process and to achieve and develop our creativity and resilience. Each of the following dances symbolize one aspect of the path to introspection and transformation. The mental training along with these 6 dances are represented in these pictures. The Japanese dance of Butoh reveals the aesthetic dimension of the body by getting rid of the conventional aesthetics and unmasking the grotesque, dark, and androgynous that reside in the repressed unconscious. Butoh seeks the transmutation through dance to achieve the liberation of the socially established. Social and individual mask will disappear into a trance that has become a dance. Pure psychic automatism was a surrealistic technique. It was a dictation of the unconscious through literature and the visual arts. Butoh is dictated through bodily expression, dance. Butoh will illustrate the conscious acceptance of suffering in order to transcend it. I dedicated a whole project to this dance. Burlesque is a literary, dramatic, and performing art genre derived from the word burla, mockery. Through parody and exaggeration, ridicule a topic or a subject, as well as glorify the socially unacceptable or denigrate the social dignified. It helps to distance the viewer from their own and social narratives. Burlesque will symbolize here rejection of social repression and wrong external guidelines. Discipline was the most repeated word by the dancers interviewed when referring to classical ballet. It is a basic dance of the dance curriculum. In this project is used to represent the importance and necessity of commitment, discipline, and hard work, as well as the necessary introspection. Traditional Indian dances include song, music, theater, and other disciplines. The 9 traditional dances have to be studied at an early age due to the degree of technical difficulty. Kathakali dancers learn how to control all of their facial muscles. An Indian traditional dancer learns to control her facial muscles in addition to 36 eye movements, 67 hand positions or mudras, and as many movements of the rest of the body. The mental and physical training is extraordinary. That's why I've used these dances to represent the importance of training the mind and body, which is not a different thing. Belly dance, Egyptian dance, or in Arabic, rak sharki, is the combination of various dances from Africa, Greece, and the Middle East. The origin is in a feminine dance of fertility for some. The creative fertility that is so necessary for inner connection, as well as good dose of concentration and improvisation, like those used by the dancers in this dance, are the basic elements in the healing process. The fluidity of contemporary dance, with its freedom of movement, with hardly any rules, and yet keeping that orderly and aesthetic rhythm. This dance gives a huge importance to the present moment. All of these make this dance the chosen to speak of liberation and an optimal psychological state. In the project, it represents the healing, the total health. Mindfulness appears in the project as a symbol of mental training, which is the basic of transformation, as numerous scientific studies already prove. The change comes from the inside.